With that, I will call the public meeting to order. We have a quorum present. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank everyone for being here tonight. Got a lot of ground to cover, so we're going to go ahead and get started. The Chair will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda and approve the consent calendar.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Horner, seconded by Alderwoman Doonard. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Horner.
Yes.
Huffman.
Yes.
Laws.
Yes.
Wallace.
Okay, that's all I have, unless anyone else would like to speak to the board on any item, we're going to move on. So the first item up under unfinished business is item A, Dropbox, submitted by Alderman Deere.
Okay. This Dropbox has been an interesting topic ever since it's been taken out. It's kind of funny today, I come up here and had a few errands to run. And as I was walking out, an elderly woman walked up and put her envelope into the one on the wall. So I asked her, which would you rather have? The one that you can drive up to or the one you gotta get out of your car and walk to? And she had mentioned all the dangers that we had mentioned about sometimes it's not clear, sometimes there's snow, sometimes there's ice. She said, did you know there's icicles hang from this roof? I said, yes, I do. And some of them are big enough to kill you. And literally they're right over that drop box. We used to have one you could drive up to. For whatever reasons it was taken out. They said it was taken out because it leaked. I think it was taken out simply for the fact that it leaned back and, well, if things have to be perfectly straight up and down, the opening was more exposed. Didn't take a lot of wind to get in there, I don't know. But I think that it's in the best interest of the city to install a new drop box where somebody can drive up and drop off their water bill for the safety of the senior citizens that use it, or the safety of anybody that uses it. I think it's a good addition to put that thing back, not necessarily where it was. If it was, level out the pad, make it right, correct. If not, there's other alternatives. They'd say they didn't want to walk that far. Safety issues and everything else. All we have to do is change the direction of the parking lot. We can put one right out here beside the sidewalk where they don't have to go out very far. Also, if they needed a man to go out there, we have numerous ones downstairs. We got Luke, we got Dave, we got James, we got Ryan, we got police officers that sit out there. We got all these guys don't. There's younger people that struggle with it, believe it or not. Not everybody can do it. Not everybody pays online. Older people want to pay by check. They want to pay it in person, they want to pay it by check. It doesn't create a problem if you ignore it. You ignore what's going on, and like I said, there was a tremendous amount of people who used it when it was there. And as time goes on, yeah, you will see less and less people use it. You'll see more and more people pay payments online and everything else. Daryl had a little survey on the internet. What was it, 105 to 13? I mean, it was small, but still, the majority of the people that responded wanted the Dropbox. I think it's a good thing. Like the woman said today, we're not all computer savvy. She would much rather have one she could drive up to. She said, especially when the weather gets bad. And she even noticed that the icicles that hang on the roof sometimes, as her exact words were, those things are big enough to hurt somebody. Maybe kill somebody. Yes, they can. Even though Jeff denied it the one time, I can remember the public works coming up here with a lift and knocking those icicles off of there because yes, they were that big. The last snow we had, snow was cleared to the door, but it wasn't cleared to the drop box. But yeah, you can walk down one spot and walk to another, but there was a tremendous amount of footprints in the snow for that. It just needs to be addressed. Winsville has a drop box, imagine that. As far much more advanced they are than us supposedly, they even have it. Not a huge one, but they have one. Like I said, I don't think it's gonna be that big of a problem to put one in.
What do you think of the percentage of people that use it?
That use the drop box? Our current one? I don't know.
We don't have any way of distinction between cash and check payments through the Dropbox versus people pick up the window versus people paying the mail. So when give you the statistic about check payments, those could have been mailed in, those could have been dropped, and they could have been done in person. But overall, cash and check payments have gone way down through all of those methods, and automated payments have gone way up.
I didn't know that it's pulling like 100 a day out of there, the current.
Is there a way to, for next month, that we could get a cost and then look at putting it on the budget, addressing it, and then counting how many actually go through that box or not?
Sure, we can have the girls start to take notice of taking note of how many come into the box. I mean, I think the real issue is how many come through when it's not safe to walk 15 feet from the parking spot in the box, right? I think that's probably the biggest concern for residents is that if they have to do it when it's not safe for them to exit their vehicle to go out there. I would encourage people to plan, like, for instance, don't plan on coming up to the drop box this Saturday or Sunday, maybe come tomorrow for the weather events. But that's just got to be part of the conversations too.
I think
we do
it's-
have a drop box, and we keep talking like we don't. It's just that you have to exit your vehicle, which sometimes is not. I get it, it's not comfortable to do so. The assessor, their old bank, it's real easy for them. They got a covered drive-through. I wish we'd had our own bank to operate out of too, but we don't. And we didn't build a new $50 million city hall to design, like Winsville, our operations around it. So we've done what we can do to streamline our operations here. I can certainly get you a price on the drop box. One of the things we talked about, which I am getting a price for you on our budget this year, is putting some entryway awning, not just to protect people's drop box, but protect people coming into City Hall from getting killed by the icicles. So, and I'm glad that issue was brought up because, I walk into City Hall every day and didn't think about that. So I'm going to start looking up after Sunday. So, but that's those awnings are something we talked about the last one. I think will pay dividends both for the police officers, everybody coming in to work here at City Hall, and then, of course, our visitors who come to board night. So if you look, actually, it looks like there used to be an awning there. There's kind of lag blocks when we're out there looking at it. I think there used to be awnings in some of these, but I think it's going to be an important upgrade.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any comments on this?
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion to install a drop box.
Second that.
I thought Rachel wanted to get.
I would like to see cost.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. This is, it's a little outside the purview of the board to, it's more of an administrative decision, but if you have a motion on the floor with a second, any discussion on this item? You can certainly vote accordingly if you'd rather wait and see what the prices are.
I don't think we're ready to vote on something like this. I mean, we don't know how many are coming through the box yet. We don't know prices. I just think that, especially with the budget planning that we're trying to do now, we need to have an idea of where to go first.
Vote no. It'll send-
Yeah, right now I have a motion by
If you vote
Alderman.
no, it'll send a message to the constituents and to the people in the city of how you feel about the elderly people and them trying to get to to drop it off, because.
Well, I just,
No, let me finish.
Dennis, hold on.
The situation.
All right, I called the previous question. I called the previous question.
We have a motion by Alderman Dieter, second by Alderman Huffman.
You know,
Here, any further comment on
Like I
that?
was
We haven't
gonna
called for the question. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Dieter,
I didn't hear you.
Dieter,
Yes.
Junior,
No.
Warner,
No.
Huffman,
Yes.
Laws,
No.
Wallace.
No.
Motion failed. Thank you. Okay, new business. Bill number 1447, an ordinance amending section 410.040E subdivision design standards. Second reading, bill number 1447, an ordinance amending section 410.040E subdivision design standard. Can I get a motion, please?
Oh my God.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Horner. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Laws. Any questions or discussion on this item?
I have a question on that,
Yes.
so we're gonna get to it.
Tab number 6.
Okay. It states that we're supposed to amend section 410.040E, correct?
We're adding section
Hmm?
E. We're adding section E.
Okay. It says amend.
We're amending that section to add section E, to add a section E.
But
I don't believe there's a section. So we're amending, the ordinance is to amend the code to add that section.
the reason I asked this is I got a message from a citizen that wanted to know basically what we're doing with section 410.040E. And I went to the ordinances, and as I was looking through it, I went to section 410.050E, which they had one, because I was always under the assumption that to amend something, it had to be there. At least that's the way we were taught in school. So I'm just kind of curious, and I didn't know how to respond to this gentleman because what I'm looking up wasn't there. So I'm just kind of curious as how we can amend, and since this is an ordinance, and I know verbiage is very particular on an ordinance, commas can change an ordinance, can change the entire meaning of an ordinance. So I was just kind of curious as to,
Well,
can that be add?
I would best call that a scrivener's error, but I mean, if you want to, we can have an amendment to say amending section 410.040 by adding subsection E. That would make it, clear for you, absolutely. And that probably would be the best way to put it on there, so. If you would like, I would suggest making an amendment prior to the second reading that just adds the term, adds both in the title and then under the whereas clause that an ordinance amending section 410.040 by adding subsection E, subdivision design standards. So I would add the words by adding subsection E.
Brian, is that something that could be done since this is already in the books, or something we've got to wait a month for?
We can do it.
Hmm?
We can do it.
Okay. Just want to make
So
sure.
we have a motion to second on the floor.
To read it. I'm just saying you can do it anytime before you second read it. So
I read
you
it
can go ahead and
twice.
read it the first time this way.
I read it twice.
I'm sorry, you did.
I did read it twice, and then I got a motion and a second. So, we could,
A motion, yeah, I apologize, so your motion is not, two times, but it hasn't been on passage yet. This is, the vote is for passage.
yes.
So I would withdraw the motion for passage, make the motion for amendment, and then restate the motion for passage as amended.
I think Alderman Horner made the motion. Were you willing to withdraw under those circumstances? And the second was made by, I'm sorry, Alderman Laws, pardon, I forgot. Okay. So the motion would be to amend section 410.04E, I'm sorry, .040 by adding subsection E.
Both in the title and the whereas clause. And Carlos got it.
Okay.
She's got the motion down.
Are you willing to make that motion, Alderman Horner?
Yes.
Okay. Alderman Laws, you willing to second that?
Yes.
Okay. So for clarification, we're amending 410.040 by adding subsection E. Any discussion on that motion? The clerk call the roll, please.
Horner,
Yes.
Huffman,
Yes.
Laws,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Dieter,
Yes.
Junior,
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item B, bill number 1448, an ordinance providing.
You will need now a motion to approve as amended.
Yes,
Yes.
we just did the title.
You just voted as
Oh, they
amended.
just amended.
Now you need a motion to approve or to. That's okay. Sorry for the
No, I'm with you. So, back to item A, bill number 1447, need a motion to approve as amended.
I'll make a motion.
Alderwoman Dooner, can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Horner. Just have you call the roll whenever you're ready, please.
Junior,
Yes.
Horner,
Yes.
Huffman,
Yes.
Laws,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
and Dieter.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Now B, bill number 1448, an ordinance providing for a change in zoning classification of a parcel number 14-90-31-000-009.006 from C1 Central Business District to R1 Single Family Residential District, and authorizing an amendment to the official zoning map of the city of Troy, Missouri, rezone 25-0005. I'm going to read that a second time. Bill number 1448, an ordinance providing for a change in zoning classification of parcel number 14-90-31-000-009.006 from C1 Central Business District to R1 Single Family Residential District, and authorizing an amendment to the official zoning map of the city of Troy, Missouri, rezone 25-0005. The chair will entertain a motion on item B.
I make a motion to accept bill number 1448 as ordinance.
I'll second it.
Thank you. A motion by Alderman Dieter, seconded by Alderwoman Huffman. Any questions or comments on this item? The clerk call the roll, please.
Dieter,
Yes.
Junior,
Abstain.
Horner,
Yes.
Huffman,
Yes.
Laws,
Yes.
Wallace.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item C, bill number 1449, an ordinance of the city of Troy, Missouri, approving a conditional use permit for a drive-through facility for Brew Crew LLC located at 198 Highway 47, 02-003-002.000, and establishing conditions and other provisions relating thereto, PZ 25-0014. Second reading, bill number 1449, an ordinance of the city of Troy, Missouri, approving a conditional use permit for a drive-through facility for Brew Crew LLC located at 198 Highway 47 East, Lincoln County, parcel number 157025002003003.000, and establishing conditions and other provisions relating thereto. PZ 25-0014. Chair will entertain a motion on item C.
I'll make a motion to adopt bill number 1449 as ordinance.
We have a motion by Alderman Teeter. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Horner. Any questions, comments?
I have a question.
Okay.
Dave, have you looked at how many holding spots, or whatever we call them, how many cars are going to be able to fit in this?
You should have a copy of that site plan. I couldn't off the top of my head give you a number of holdings. I would guess 10 to 20.
Did they list it in the plan, or is it?
It shows the dual lanes. It doesn't, I don't believe the plan gives a head count or a car count.
I was contacted by someone who's concerned about, they looked at the other ones, and what's going to O'Fallon and the spill out into
Other streets?
other streets or
Correct.
areas. So do they have an idea of what that would look like? Where would it spill out to?
Oh, it could definitely cause an impact to both North Lincoln and 47. But that's where you guys can come up with a list of special conditions, because it's conditional use. Now, I don't know how that can be enforced.
Right. I guess it would initially spill into the Boomgar's parking lot or whatever.
It would either be that way or towards North Lincoln. And I'm guessing on that part, because that's where they start stacking.
Is the applicant here today, Jim?
I don't know.
Just
Sorry.
ends.
Is anybody here from Seven Brew?
Yes, we have people here. Do you have a specific question for him?
Well, I just don't know if you need an answer.
Yeah.
So the question's been asked about, the stacking or where these cars might go. Do you have a plan on, or an idea on something like that?
Yeah, so we have our dual lanes and then they're stacking into one. Our specific model that we have right now would be similar to our one that's in O'Fallon off 64. So our stack can hold about 30 cars, 15 in each before it goes into one lane, and that's just when they're moving. So they've already gotten their drinks, one's being turned into one lane and the next lane. So I would predict with like the sales that we do at other stands, I would predict all cars will fit in afternoon time, nighttime for sure. And if there's a rush like we normally get at like 7 or 8 a.m., that might be the only time where they spill. So I don't know if other businesses are stacked around there or if they're open at 7 or 8 a.m. But that would be the only time that we'd be concerned about. And then obviously our opening day is usually a big deal, but we usually hire local police for that too, to direct traffic.
So you would hire our police department to alleviate some of that?
Yeah, we hire 4 off-duty police officers to help us kind of recreate a stack and then kind of plan and where we'd like them to stand and stuff like that.
Oh, man, free donuts.
You employ about 60 people, right?
Yeah, our goal whenever we first hire is 80, and then our retention rate is about 85%, so we're going to lose a little bit of that, and then we hope to like retain 60 to 65, depending on how busy the stand is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments on this item?
Where do your employees park?
That's a really good question. Usually we have designated parking spots for them in our lot, but I didn't see any in site plans because it's such a tight space, and we have that pass-through lane that goes on the side of the dual lanes.
From the clarifier back to the head of the plant at several thousands of gallons a minute. So when a seal broke out of that, we flooded the basement on New Year's Eve night at the treatment plant last year. The guys got the call that we had had a power failure in the basement, went down, and the whole basement was flooded. It was nasty. So you can see in the picture, the top picture there, the flood did cover up a bunch of electrical motors and different components, and so the guys were able to get the power shut down and got everything pumped out, cleaned out. We were able to take all the electrical motors and components and send them to a shop down in Eureka to where they were baked and dried out and ran through, and ended up we were able to save all the motors. Nothing had to be replaced or any major expenses from that. We did have one expense from that where we had to replace the seals on the ranch pump that blew out.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Was there an alarm system on this? Is that?
Yes, yeah. So at thousands of gallons a minute, by the time we got the call and arrived on site, most of the pump room was covered by the time we got it. So your grid removal project is well underway. I know this was a summary that ended back end of last year, but the project was supposed to be completed, well, is anticipated to be completed summer of this year. We are ahead of schedule, knock on wood. Things are looking good. All the equipment's in. We're putting the final touches on the building. So I would say springtime that thing will be completed. So that will be huge. Moving on, just kind of looking through the report as I'm going over this as well. You can see some of the pictures from the flood. You can see our guys out in the boat repairing some rubber skimmer arm pads on the backfire. Moving on to lift stations. So operators are still completing their weekly inspections, and they're reporting these inspections in Utility Cloud. That's how we track all of our maintenance repairs and anything that we do. It's a maintenance tracking system. That way you can come back, if let's say in 10 years we're out of here, you guys can go back on records from the time beginning we started, that everything we completed maintenance-wise on every item that you had, that you own. Your SCADA project is complete at the Whitetail and the Wingate lift station. That was a big thing that you guys, with your capital money, wanted to make improvements on. I will tell you, your investment that you made in this has paid for itself. It's like gold. So last week, the mayor knows this, we had a call that came in for the Wingate lift station. The call that we got was for 2 high temp alarms on 2 pumps, and that weren't running at the time. Now, typically with our old alarm system, we wouldn't have got a call out until the wet well was already high and we were at an issue. You know, the well was already at a flooding state. At the Wingate lift station, there's homes that sit like very close to that wet well. So once those sites go down, you're on the clock before you start flooding homes. So with your new SCADA project, a call came out to us that showed that there was a high temp alarm on both pumps. Immediately, we knew there was a problem. We dialed in, got on the screen. We seen that both pumps weren't running. Now, at that time, the well was still down, so you're ahead of the clock at that time. So we immediately called the pumping service. We had the guys coming in with the sludge truck. By the time we were on site, we were already pumping water out of the well until we could get that site back up and going, and ended up saving you from flooding homes. So your SCADA has paid for itself already. So. Let's see, another capital project that you had last year during contract year 7 was the Eastbrook Lift Station Rehab Project. That project was completed and within budget. Your project included all new railings, pumps, valves, floats, a new cover with a hatch, and a control board. And if you look on your little handout here, you can see the difference from the old well to the rehab project where it's complete. This year we are doing one more at it'd be the Woodsport sub lift station. So that's another rehab project that you're doing in contract year 8. So hopefully that's it for rehabs for a while. Moving on, maintenance items. So operators have continued to use the Utility Cloud program for tracking all maintenance repair items. A monthly report is sent out each month to each operator to help communicate what work was completed and what work is expected to be done in the next month. Operators completed over 1,800 work orders alone at the Southeast Treatment Plant and 12 lift stations around town during contract year 7. A summary of the work orders completed and expenditures on maintenance items can be found on the very next page of this report. So if you look on page 17, that gives you an overview of the maintenance history report for the year. Out of the 1,800 work orders that were completed in contract year 7, only 16 of those work orders were corrective maintenance. So if you knew how we started this thing back in 18, where everything we were doing was corrective maintenance, now the tides have turned. Everything we're doing now is preventative maintenance. So out of the 1,800 or so work orders, you only had 16 that were corrective maintenance. All the others were preventative and other mandatory inspections. If you look through your bid report here, we actually outline every expense that we made with your guys' money through the year. If we had to go to Tractor Supply and buy a tarp and I just happened to be the first thing I looked at, that item is listed out in here, and every penny that we spent to yours is listed on this report. Moving on. Actually, let me add one more thing to the maintenance thing. We did purchase a used tractor with a box blade and a disc during contract year 7. It was budgeted for. I think we came in at about half of what we thought it was going to be. We ended up finding a used tractor with low hours and in very good shape. So that tractor has been very, very beneficial for us at the plant as far as fixing up the creek bottom or the creek crossing going into the bottom. That way we can keep that crossing open for when we're land applying. Next page, land application. So in contract year 7, we land applied over 2 million gallons of sludge onto the fields. So at 4,000 gallons a piece, that's a lot of trips in that irrigator. She's saying something about me?
No.
Okay, so during contract year 7, we tried something new. We left a field open that we didn't let the farmer plant. We decided to leave it open. That way we could continue to land apply throughout the whole year, keeping sludge out of your storage tank. Rule of thumb, never store any type of wastewater or sludge. Keep that stuff empty. So we kept the field open, and we tried it this year. I think it's something we're going to continue to do. So this year we're going to leave another field. We're going to rotate fields and leave another one open. And everybody says, well, you lose, what about the cash rent for the farming? It's pennies on the dollar for what you're saving by leaving a field open with the cash rent compared to if you had to pay a hauler to haul sludge for us. Your irrigator is starting to show its age. It's over 30-something years old. We had to do a lot of major repairs to the irrigator this year. We had to replace the front tire and the rim. We ended up having to rebuild the rear toolbar, rebuild the rear end. We had a hydraulic cylinder we had to replace, and we replaced several leaking air lines on that thing. So hopefully we can keep it going for several more years. But we are going to have to start thinking about in the future, getting a plan together. Will we be replacing this thing in the future with a new irrigator? They do make equipment that you can tow behind a tractor that applies a tank with an applicating device. You know, we'll look into all that, what's going to be our best route moving forward. But we want to continue with land application as long as we can. That's the most cost-effective route for getting rid of this sludge. Okay, moving on. Financial report, you can see on page 27 of the bid report, we did finish the year within budget and kept everything, delivering our full scope of work to you guys. Did finish within budget. Okay, staffing and support. If you look here, we have just a little graph here, or a little list of everyone that is in direct support of this project, all the way from your management support, health and safety, accounting, HR, IT, you name it. We've got people across the country to where we're just a phone call away, but every person listed on this list did have some type of impact on this project here at Troy. If you look at the picture of these guys here, that is your staff that is on staff at the Southeast plant that worked for us. The guys were able to upgrade some licenses this year, and we will show you on the next page of this report what classes they took. But Mike and Dylan were able to obtain their Class A collections license, and Jordan obtained his Class B collections license. So those were all upgrades and licenses for our staff. Moving on to the last portion of this little review is the community involvement. So for the last 5 years, we've been putting on a stream clean. So it's a great community event. We come out, we cook lunch for you guys. We go out and we pick a different creek or a different spot in town and we go out and clean up. Last year was the 5th annual stream clean event. We cleaned up trash along the creek at Kiwanis Park. I know Brian's been working their tail off in there this year, so we might have to pick a new spot. But this little community event, it also benefits your MS4 program, to where as part of that MS4, you have to put on different community events and different things, so that counts as credit towards that. And last but not least, Woodard and Curran hosted a collection system class and exam here at City Hall through the year. The class was put on by an instructor from Kansas City who specializes in wastewater collection systems. And on the second day of the class, the MWEA actually offered an exam. So 3 of the Woodard and Curran employees obtained licenses, and a few of your actual City of Troy guys were able to get some licenses for themselves in the collection system. So that was a cool thing for them to be a part of, because now they get to have a license they can put on the wall as well. So, any questions from me? We're good? See you next year.
Thank you, Jared. Appreciate you. Okay, with that, we're going to move on to the next item. Item I, discussion regarding radon initiatives and mitigation requirements submitted by Alderman Hunter.
The reason I brought this up is many of you have heard I base a lot of things off of past history, personal history. June of 2019, I retired from work. I was a welder for 45 years. The air was so thick you could literally reach up and grab it. It had every particle imaginable in the air. It was that bad. We were working 10, 12 hours a day. There at one point we worked 4 years straight without a day off. So being in the factory most of my life, I never give a thought to certain things. Like I said, I retired in June of 19. By August of 19, I was having breathing issues. Couldn't figure it out. The clean air was whooping me. It made absolutely no sense. I've been to doctors, numerous doctors, different ones. Nobody can come up with a reason to why I was having breathing issues. So I started doing a little bit more research on my own. And I come to find out that in Lincoln County, 44% of the homes tested for radon were above the dangerous level of 0.4 or 4.0. So I started testing my own home. Since November of last year, or not this past year, but of 24, I've run an ongoing test of my home. It's been as low as 6 and as high as 12. And the rain events affect it, snow events affect it. Whether it's hot, whether it's cold, everything seems to have an impact on radon. One of my biggest concerns is that whenever a person buys a home, usually the buyer or the seller has to have their home checked for radon. And it very seldom passes, and the people have to put in a radon mitigation system. And it's something that runs up the outside of their house usually, because it's really labor intensive to put it inside the walls if the house is already built. And one of the things that I thought that would be advantageous to, well, I'll use you, Monty, you're sitting here, for the developers that are building these homes, it's a selling factor. The cost to put it in while you're building the home is under probably $250. The price to put it in after your home's built can range anywhere to $1,600, $1,700. Depending on who puts it in. Sometimes it's as easy as putting a standpipe that connects to the black pipe on the inside of your basement. If you can hook it to your sump pump, it's another easy way to do it. If not, you have to drill a hole through the basement floor, clean out a little bit of the rock that's below it, install a pipe, install a fan, and then exit it out the house. It should exit the outside of the house and above the eave of the house at least 6 to 8 inches. Brings up another interesting point. I was curious as how it comes out of the ground, because it's 4.5 to 6 times heavier than air. You think it would stay in the ground, but no, it doesn't. It's everywhere. Lincoln County is high on it. The health department, when I went to talk to them about it, January is Radon Awareness Month. And everybody's got a little thing here that's handed out about the effects of radon and everything. Radon is the second largest cancer-causing agent for lung cancer. If you smoke, it increases it probably 10 to 12-fold, which is astronomical. Radon is odorless. You can't see it, you can't smell it, but it's there. I would like to make it to where all the new homes that are constructed, that it is put in. Like I said, it's so much easier to install it when the home's being built. It's as simple as putting a pipe in the concrete. They could run the vent pipe up through the attic. They got a wall section there for plumbing. They could run it through there, run it out through the roof. Nobody'd be the wiser of what it is, and put a sticker on it for radon, or you got the blower in the basement. From the health aspect for the people in the county, I think it's great. As a selling point for the people that are selling homes, it's a good thing. When you sit back and look at everything that's involved into it, it is so much simpler to put it in while you're building a home. So much cheaper to put in while you're building a home. And the safety of it is the biggest reason. People don't understand some of the things it affects. I'll admit I was one of those people. It can cause infertility. So for people that are trying to have children, this is another thing it could have problems with. It causes, like I said, cancer, lung cancer. It's the second largest, only because of the smoking. But I think it would be something that would be so simple for the builders to put into it while they're building. And the safety aspect of it, I think it's a plus for our community, for people to understand that the homes that are being built are now safer homes. You know, we got a lot of good contractors in our area. They do good work. It's something that could be added at a minimal cost. And if it's going in every home, they're buying these things in bulk instead of just individually. I know mine, I've probably got $250 in the whole thing, and that's doing it all myself. And almost $100 was drilling the hole. So I would like to see it become a mandatory process to when the new homes are being built, that this is something that is put in. Like I said, it'll help the sale of the homes. It protects the people that are buying the homes. Everybody I seem to talk to, they have to have their homes checked for radon when they're selling their home. And then they have a pretty good cost to put it in. I talked to a lady the other day that she never heard of it before. And they were selling their home in Winsville, and it failed. So they asked them to put a radon mitigation system in. It cost them $1,600. So she thought, well, the home she's buying, she's going to see if it tested positive for radon, and it did as well. So they had to put one in that one before they bought it. So, you know, I think it's beneficial for everybody, for the health and welfare of all the people that live here, for the contractors that are building the homes. It's, like I said, it's a sale aspect that our homes now have that. So I don't know when you build a home. I mean, it's something that could be advertised that all our homes have radon mitigation systems in them. You know, and I just think it'd be beneficial for everybody in the city to have something like this. And kind of curious on the board's response on that as well.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any comments or questions about this? It would be a zoning ordinance change.
No, it would be a building.
I'm sorry, building code change. You have it would be adopting the Appendix F in our building codes is what it would require, so.
And you all got a copy of the appendix seven before you.
It's, yeah, right here, this paper that was out of the day. So, anybody else have any questions or comments on this item?
I think it's proactive and it's reasonable enough, and can we make a motion to prepare an ordinance to adopt the radon mitigation portion of the ICC building code?
No, it would be, we'd have to get a consensus to, well, I guess since it is,
There would have to be an amendment,
yeah,
an ordinance amending the amended IRC code, residential code.
so that would be a sponsor of the ordinance, is that right, the amendment?
You know, yeah, we'd have to have a sponsor on it, but I'd also like to suggest if we make that if we implement this, to give like a 3-month time lead because of contracts that may be in work. So that would probably give the builders a chance to catch up with it. 3 months?
If you've got one contract in your application, if you're gonna add this to it, it would be an additional cost to us. I don't know much about the cost of it. I know these tests are very random. But it's out there. It's not a huge cost to work with, and it is much easier during construction than it is after construction. We don't see a whole lot of it, but it's not mandatory either. They don't do a ton of testing. It seems to be more of a lender requirement as it is anyone else. Probably run a little bit in the past, correct that. Usually the individual that did the testing was the individual that did the correction. So a little bit of, a little easier for that person to say, yeah, it's got it, now you need to correct it. So, but we can find other testing methods to make sure that it's fair. But if it's a building code, then we don't test, we just do it.
I think when we did the amendment of the IRC last time, I think we gave them a 3-month heads up time.
Does the building code call for testing?
It's in Appendix F, and it's in the code, but the only way the appendixes become law, it has to be adopted by reference.
Do we know of any other cities around us or anything?
I don't know that off the top of my head, no.
Cities that we've built in years, I don't know that any of them require it.
Well, I do know it seems like the southern part of Lincoln County, the southern part, the Lincoln County southern line, north, is way worse than south.
We found it, and what little testing we've done, we found it to be very random. I mean, it could be this house and not this house, and how it happens, I don't know.
Well,
I assume we dig a hole, we cut into
What-
a seam or something. I don't know.
What I found out, and it's kind of odd, whenever developers go in, they clear the ground and make it to where they can start building a house. There's always ditches or something in their undulations, the low spots. And where I live, I know there used to be a ditch that run from the southwest corner of that subdivision down through, and it wide off, and it went down basically my neighbor's driveway and on the other side of my neighbor, and it crossed into the creek to the east side of the bridge. One of the things that seems like radon is really heavily is anywhere around any creeks, anywhere around where there was a ditch, a rocky portion, anywhere where there's a lot of rocks, the radon levels raised. All I can go by is what I can look up and I can find, but I know that it's, and you're right, you see it in my subdivision, there's probably been 6 new ones put in the last 6 months. Because I guess people selling their homes that had to be checked and they had to go in. There's so many of them. And the reason you can tell them now is because they come out through the band board and run right up the outside of the house. So they're very noticeable if you know where to look. It's kind of like a sump pump. But also if a house has a sump pump in it, it's got a greater risk of having radon than a house that doesn't have a sump pump. My house, don't believe it or not, does not have a sump pump in it, and my readings are extremely high. The other day when it warmed up some, I opened up the basement window and turned the attic fan on. I got my attic fan in the garage so I don't lose heat in the wintertime. So I got my Walton screen door that runs from the kitchen to the garage, and I turned the attic fan on the garage, and it's pulling the air out of the basement from the other end of the house. It raised the radon level in my house 0.4 in about 20 minutes, because it was pulling the radon out of the basement through the house to get out of the house. It raised it that much in that short period of time. And, you know, it's, like I said, I hope I didn't wait long enough that it's going to wind up being my demise, but it may very well be, I don't know. But I just think it's beneficial for everybody to get ahead of the game, per se. Eventually it's going to happen to where they have to be put in for whatever reasons. And like I said, every area is different, you're right. Some homes have it, some homes don't. I think some homes have it because they've checked it, and other homes don't have it because they haven't. So.
Okay, so we have a couple of board members that seem to be in favor of this. Will this be a P&Z issue or not? Will this just be straightforward? So just be adopted. Under the 2015 International Code, it does list high radon potential zones. That's under the Appendix F. And Lincoln County is not listed in Missouri on that list.
This is 10 years old.
Please,
The one from
I did not interrupt you during your soliloquy, so please, I just want to go over a couple of things here. I do need to hear kind of a consensus from the board before we move forward with the process. So anybody else that wants to speak to this, please take a few minutes and let us know what your thoughts are.
I think it's something we should look into.
For sure.
I agree, and I don't say if other municipalities or cities are doing it, then we should or shouldn't. I'd just be interested in the surrounding area who's doing this, but it doesn't seem cost prohibitive.
You want us to research that and get back to you next month on that?
Or I can,
We can gather that information while we move forward with the adoption of the appendix and have that as we move forward to it. And we'll certainly come up with a lead time between the passage and when it's going to come into effect. We'll discuss that and give at least a 3-month lead time, because we don't want to add costs to houses that are, already under contract. So we'll figure that out as we move forward. Does that sound good to everybody?
Yeah, because all it's usually done for it, basically floor is poured.
Right, yeah. Okay, if we don't have anything else on that, we're going to move on to the next item. Item J, discussion regarding public works supervisor hiring. Submitted by Alderman Edert.
Once again, I brought this up simply because I think we should be involved in the decision-making process of hiring the supervisors, the same as we have done with the police department. I think we need to do with this one as well, and not be totally left in the dark of what's going on.
Okay, so this would be an ordinance change. Need a discussion, see if there's a general consensus on it. I would caution you that it's set up the way it is for some specific reasons. You certainly don't want to make this a political situation. So separation of powers is very important in government in the United States. There's a reason why certain things are assigned to certain areas. So I caution you to respect that as we look at this. Does anybody else have any thoughts on it before we move forward or not?
What do you mean by just being informed of who's the candidate, or?
Well, yeah, we need to know who the candidates are, but we also should if you look at the book that we get every year when we set up our budget, it's always on the first, second, third page somewhere in there. It's got the basic chain of command. And the citizens are number one. They are number one. The second, because everything has to go through us, is the mayor and the board of aldermen. And then it's broke down into categories. But if we're not involved in the decision-making process, what's our purpose? I've noticed over the few years that it seems like it's getting pulled farther and farther and farther away from us. Yeah, we get to make a decision on stuff that's brought to us, but we don't have a decision sometimes on the stuff that's put together before it's brought toward us. If you relinquish all the power that you have, there's no need for you to be there. It'd be beneficial to the taxpayers of the city of Troy, instead of paying us our grand salary of $200 a month, for us not to be here. If we have no input on the decision-making processes.
So a legislative body is what the Board of Aldermen is. The mayor is the elected executive, the aldermen are the legislative body. That means they're responsible for policy, ordinances, and in my opinion, the most important is the passage of the budget, being good stewards of the city's money. Those are the key purview of the elected board. When it gets into day-to-day operations, that's why you have gone out and found a professional person to fill the role of city administrator, because being on the inside every day, understanding the workings is what gives him the ability to make these decisions. And I think it's important to utilize what you spent the money to have this position filled for. So remember that the legislative and policy things are the most important role you have, along with the budget. So no one's taken any authority away. It's been this way for years. It's in our ordinance that way. So if you're looking to make a change in doing that, then going forward, whoever sits in those seats will have that same authority. And then it may not be as good an idea as you think it is now. So I would caution you, changing the dynamics in that particular area would be maybe not the best place to focus the efforts of the elected Board of Aldermen. But certainly if we have a consensus, we can consider changing the ordinance, but I'd like to hear from everybody and see what direction they want to go on this.
The way it works now is James will be one, and then you tell us who you think of.
So yeah, since 1995, the city administrator has been in charge of all hiring and appointment of all department heads in the city. So in the absence of the city administrator for the period that we had, since what, 07, 08, the board invested that power in the mayor as the executive to do that. Now that the city administrator is back in his position, all hiring decisions, recommendations that come from department heads are signed off by myself. All the appointment of department heads, so sewer, water, public works, finance, all of those would be appointed by the city administrator. Obviously, the process for that is something that we undertake internally, depending on the process. So in this case, we utilized a member of our sewer department, our HR department, and our former public works directors, as well as myself, to vet all of the candidates that applied for the public works director job. And we winnowed that down to a group that we interviewed over the course of 2 days. And at this point, we have a unanimous decision to make an appointment. I held off on that appointment pending this conversation because out of deference to the board, I wanted your input. However, I do think it's important that we recognize that these sorts of decisions should be made based on, the operation of individual departments, the qualifications of those individuals. And people, I think, best who can figure that out, determine that are obviously people who are on the ground as part of that process, that team. So certainly all of the things that we do in the city government, we try to make our point always to communicate with you when appropriate that information. But even though we do work with residents, we don't include residents on the hiring process. I certainly am not going to show up to a resident who is my boss, still, an application which is confidential for a position in the city. So I think that's an oversimplification to say that. I delegate those, there are things that you delegate to me as the administrator, those things that I delegate down. I expect those who are experts in the field to handle things like wastewater or streets, et cetera. And I think that this is again one of those issues that I think you should trust us to bring you the best qualified candidates, to work for you and to fulfill your goals, because your most important role is setting the tone, setting the goals for the city, letting us know what we need to accomplish on your behalf to better serve the residents. That's just what our focus is. And we'll keep you up to speed when appropriate, but there's also confidentiality issues and things like that. We try to keep, there's a reason why we have information that's contained in the charter. We don't let the whole staff know what's going on, and there's things that we wouldn't let you know until it's appropriate, again, because confidentiality issues.
Thank you. With all that being said, you mentioned 1995. What was that again about 1995?
According to the ordinance, that's the year that was passed.
For Troy?
For the city of Troy.
Okay. In the middle 2000s, when Bob Frank was the city administrator, it was brought before the board about the hiring and firing of different people. And there was a pretty good conversation on that. And it should be in the record. You can look under Karen Hotfeller. She was a city clerk at the time. I don't know if there's any records of that, because a lot of other records I can't find either. But anyway, if you look into that, there was a conversation with Bob Frank. Bob hadn't been here too long, and there was a discussion about the hiring and firing of the different people within the work for the city. And we had a pretty good discussion over that. And it was left up to the board then. So, in 95, I'm assuming you're talking about when Tony Warren was here.
I'm telling you, when the law was established setting the process for appointments of staff. Now, the dismissal of staff members has never changed. They're dismissed or terminated based on recommendations from the city administrator to the board. The board makes the final decision on terminations. But hires, appointments of department heads, that's been, at least shows in the ordinance, in the purview of the city administrator. Of course, you haven't always had one. So there was provisions made at that time to allow the mayor to do so, and he did, by himself, the last appointment of the public works supervisor director. So that's, again.
Like I said, it was in the middle 2000s that discussion was made. Bob Frank was the city administrator at that time. It should be in the records.
I don't know what the discussion was. I only know what the law says. And so, in following the law, this is what the process is.
And what is an ordinance?
Pardon me?
What is an ordinance?
It's a law.
Okay. Like I said, in the middle 2000s, they need to look it up.
But again, a discussion I recognize or even an action by the board does not supersede what the ordinance and the law is. Just because the board did something doesn't even mean it was legal. So I'm just telling you again what the law says and what the law has been for a long time. This is I would question, is this and I'd ask, for direction on this, is your intent to have the board make all hiring decisions, new HR people, street maintenance workers, police officers, the promotion of such people, under what circumstances do we believe that, that's the best practice? We did just hire a professional organization to help us with the police chief search. And given the public nature of the position, I have inquired and asked for your input on this decision. It doesn't change the nature of what the decision process is.
Well, I think when it comes to department heads, we should have a say. As far as day-to-day and that kind of thing, no. But department heads, I think we should have a say in, and we do have the approval, the final approval on those.
You don't. Under any
It says
order.
right, I have an ordinance right here that says, "In no time shall the duties or powers of the city administrator supersede the action by the mayor and the board of aldermen." Now, you have the ability and the right to pick these people and to select them. I don't think anybody has a problem with that. But I think at the end of the day, we should know who those people are going to be and approve them.
It's just not, it's not the process, not the point. Nobody's saying that you're not going to know who they are. I mean, I guess my question would be, what value add to the process when we decided to, again, pick a new public works supervisor, or we return the public works director? The purpose of the position, or the purpose of who we are deciding is based on what we think the duties and the organization of the department is and the needs of the department are. So, of course, we put together those in the department who best understand the needs and the requirements of the job and of the department. And then in doing so, we interviewed candidates and made those candidates subjected to a series of questions that helped us assess that. And then we made a decision, or at least what the board or what the committee has recommended to me to be that decision. I don't know what the value would be to then add a political process to that.
I don't see that as a political process. I see that as being part of the system that we have in place. Of course, you have the ability to pick a better person for the position than we would, and I understand that. But I think at the end of the day, the aldermen are responsible for everything, and I think we should have a say in the department heads that are selected and be a part of that. And I don't see that as being political. I just see that as part of the process.
I would guarantee that applicants to the city in the future will see that as highly political, and people will steer away from wanting to work for a community, which, by the way, no other community is involving themselves in such decisions. They are going to decide to stay working in places like Wentzville, O'Fallon, St. Charles, Garden Prairie, even Moscow Mills, overcoming to a situation where they think they're going to be subjected to a public discussion of the qualifications or political input, political qualifications. It's nothing against the board. You cannot take out the politics of it once it becomes before a political body. It's really unfair to you, because if you start getting contact with regarding candidates, it puts unfair pressure on you as a board member, and it puts undue influence on the decision-making process against a person who's just trying to elevate themselves and come be a professional working for the city. So, it does actually put you also in a tougher spot. It's easier to say, look, we're going to set goals, we're going to hold staff responsible. Obviously, if there's an issue, you come to me, I will hold the staff responsible. And if the staff is not responsive, I will come to you, and you have the opportunity to fire them at that point. And I'm sure you'd have my recommendation to do so if they're not meeting the tasks of the job. So, but, again, I think that's after it's been shown that the person did or didn't do the job in the first place.
Okay, so in order to change an ordinance, we'll need a sponsor. I need a consensus. Since a couple people seem to be in favor of making a change to this ordinance, does anybody else want to weigh in? It does not seem that we have a consensus in moving forward with the changing of the ordinance. by virtue of the
I
fact
got
that,
one more comment on that. You can take it for what it's worth. James, you've worked at a numerous amount of places, correct?
Not numerous, but enough.
Okay, enough.
Worked numerous years.
You know quite a few people, correct?
I know a few, yes.
Okay, so anytime there's an applicant comes in, the odds of you showing favoritism to one, you could do it and we'd never know it, because we don't know your connection with these people.
Sure.
It's easier for the 6 people up here to make a decision on one. We may not all agree. We may all agree. None of us may agree. We may agree with you 100%.
Sure.
But like I said, I get into that life experience things again. I have seen all too often of people being promoted into a situation where they have absolutely no bearing being there other than the people that they know, and one person was the person that made the decision. And that is part of the reason why I think it's so much, it is beneficial for those decisions to be made by numerous people. And that's why the discussion was brought up in the mid-2000s. And even the city administrator, Bob, agreed with it.
He didn't last here very long, so maybe he was wrong.
He didn't last here very long, so there was a discrepancy between him and the mayor. Bob was very good.
I would tell you this, since we want to talk about accountability. I am accountable to you. Everything that I email, everything that I do on a daily basis is overseen by you. I'm very transparent. I communicate with you regularly, and I'm completely accountable to you. If there is this issue between one of the 7 of you, who's holding that accountable? I can tell you that in the 30 people that applied to these police chief here, I know 3 of them very well. I can tell you that there was no favoritism, and I can prove it. I have no idea what was said or done, or conversations or anything else with anybody else or any board member. I mean, you can, and if there was, you can just fire me, okay? What happens if there is politicization of a hiring? Just maybe not you 7, but we're talking about future boards, future aldermen. We have to think about what this does, not just for the 7 of you and me, but the 7 of you, or future 7, future city administrators, etc. You have the ability to, and I intend you to hold me accountable for my decisions, ask me anything, request information. I'm an open book. It's a lot easier to be honest than it is to lie, because I don't have that kind of a memory, so to keep that stuff straight. The fact is, I mean, that's the easiest way to hold somebody accountable, is you have one person to hold accountable for the actions of the hiring, for the outcomes of the hiring, for you to tell what to do. And if this board wants me to do, we're going to do it.
The only thing that you said there that I found alarming is that you could prove that you couldn't. I'd like to know how you could prove that you
Well, I'm going
had.
to tell you as soon as we go in that closed session, so.
I'm just kind of curious how you could prove something like that.
Well, I'll tell you in about 30 seconds if we can have it.
yeah, I think we've covered all this. Doesn't seem to be a consensus to move forward in that direction, so thank you all for your input. The chair will entertain a motion to go into closed session for personnel.
Make the motion.
Go ahead.
Okay, Laws and Huffman, I believe.
Laws,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Peters,
Yep.
Dooner,
Yes.
Horner,
Yes.
Huffman.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight.
That's why I'm getting pretty curious.